Some words destroy respect in seconds, not because they're loud, but because they're weak. I'm just being honest. It's not my fault. That's just how I am. Sound familiar? Every man has said something that exposed insecurity, ego, or fear. But what if your words revealed strength instead of weakness? What if silence became your power and discipline became your language? Listen carefully, because these 15 sentences separate reactive boys from controlled men. 1. It's not my fault. 3 words that feel safe, comforting, protective. When something goes wrong, they come automatically. The project failed. Not my fault. The relationship ended. Not my fault. Life feels stuck. Not my fault. In modern culture, blame is everywhere. We blame the system, the economy, our parents, our partners, the algorithm, the past. Sometimes those reasons are real, but the danger is subtle. The moment you say, "It's not my fault," too often, you give away your power. Because if nothing is your fault, then nothing is your responsibility. And if nothing is your responsibility, nothing in your life can truly change. It feels easier to point outward than to look inward. It feels safer to accuse the world than to confront your own choices. But deep down, there is a quiet voice that knows the truth. Somewhere along the way, you chose silence, comfort, or fear over action. Growth begins the moment you stop asking, "Who is to blame?" and start asking, "What can I change?" In a world obsessed with excuses and victimhood, taking responsibility feels almost radical. But it is also the moment you stop being controlled by circumstances and start becoming the author of your own life. And that is terrifying, because it means you can no longer hide. But it is also liberating, because it means your future is finally in your hands. 2. I don't care. 3 words that sound strong, cold, untouchable. But most of the time, they don't mean indifference. They mean fear. I don't care often translates to, I'm afraid to feel, afraid to hope, afraid to trust, afraid to be disappointed again. In modern culture, not caring has become a shield. People post memes about being emotionless. They joke about being detached. They treat vulnerability like weakness. Because caring is risky. When you care, you can be rejected. When you care, you can be betrayed. When you care, you can lose something that matters. So instead of facing pain, many people shut down emotionally. They ghost instead of explaining. They stay silent instead of expressing. They pretend nothing matters, while everything hurts inside. But emotional numbness is not strength. It is survival mode. The truth is brutal. You don't say, "I don't care," because you're strong. You say it because caring once broke you. And yet, growth begins when you stop hiding behind that phrase. When you admit that you do care, that you do feel, that you do want connection, meaning, and depth. Because the person who dares to feel, even in a world obsessed with emotional armor, is not weak. 3. That's just who I am. A sentence that sounds honest, authentic, final. But often, it's not truth. It's surrender. When someone says, "That's just who I am," they're not describing identity. They're defending habits, excuses, and unhealed wounds. In modern culture, personality has become an excuse. I'm just blunt. I'm toxic but honest. I'm lazy but creative. I'm emotionally unavailable, deal with it. We romanticize flaws instead of confronting them. We call immaturity authentic. We call avoidance self-care. We call stubbornness confidence. But character is not fate. It is not something you are born with and forced to accept forever. It is something you build, choice by choice, day by day. The uncomfortable truth is this: who you are today is not destiny. It is a result of what you repeatedly tolerate in yourself. Saying, "That's just who I am," may protect your ego, but it quietly kills your potential. Because the moment you believe you cannot change, you stop trying. And the moment you stop trying, you stop growing. True strength is not accepting your flaws as permanent. It is having the courage to admit, "I can become better." Because identity is not inherited. It is forged in discipline, awareness, and painful self-honesty. 4. You made me angry. 4 words that feel justified, natural, almost automatic. When someone disrespects you, ignores you, or triggers your insecurities, it's easy to say, "You made me angry." In modern culture, emotions are treated like weapons. We blame people for how we feel. We say, "You ruined my mood. You stressed me out. You made me react." But here is the uncomfortable truth. No one controls your emotions unless you give them permission. Anger doesn't come from others. It comes from your interpretation, your expectations, your wounds. 2 people can face the same insult. One explodes, the other remains calm. The difference is not the situation, it is the mind. Saying, "You made me angry," feels powerful, but it quietly makes you powerless. Because if others control your emotions, they control your peace, your actions, your life. In a world full of triggers, comments, opinions, disrespect, emotional control has become rare. But real strength begins when you stop asking, "Who made me feel this way?" and start asking, "Why did I allow this to affect me?" Because the moment you take ownership of your emotions, you stop being a prisoner of other people's behavior and start becoming the master of your inner world. 5. I deserve this. 3 words that sound empowering, confident, self-assured, but sometimes they hide something dangerous. Entitlement. In modern culture, we are constantly told, "You deserve everything. You deserve success without struggle. You deserve happiness without discipline. You deserve respect without responsibility." It feels good to believe it. It protects the ego. It soothes frustration. But entitlement quietly kills growth. When you believe you deserve success without effort, you stop working when things get hard. When you believe you deserve love without self-improvement, you stop reflecting on your flaws. When you believe you deserve recognition without contribution, you become bitter instead of better. The truth is uncomfortable. You don't deserve outcomes. You deserve opportunities. And outcomes are earned. Life does not reward what you feel entitled to. It rewards what you are willing to build, endure, and sacrifice for. In a world obsessed with instant gratification and viral success, patience and humility feel outdated. But the people who grow the most are not those who say, "I deserve this," but those who say, "I will earn this," because entitlement makes you stagnant. Effort makes you unstoppable. And the moment you replace entitlement with discipline is the moment your life truly begins to change. 6. Everyone does it. 3 words that feel comforting, reassuring, safe. When something feels wrong, risky, or questionable, we justify it with a simple excuse. Everyone does it. In modern culture, the crowd has become the ultimate authority. If something trends, it must be right. If everyone agrees online, it must be true. If millions follow it, it must be worth copying. But the crowd is not wisdom. History proves this again and again. Entire societies have followed lies, trends, and destructive habits, not because they were right, but because they were popular. Today, it happens faster than ever. People copy lifestyles they can't afford, adopt opinions they've never questioned, normalize behaviors they secretly know are wrong. Following the crowd feels safe, because if everyone is wrong together, no one feels responsible. But growth has never come from imitation. It comes from courage, the courage to stand alone. The uncomfortable truth is this: if everyone is doing it, it might be exactly the reason you shouldn't, because the crowd seeks comfort, not truth. Approval, not integrity. Belonging, not wisdom. And the moment you stop letting the crowd think for you is the moment you begin to think for yourself. That is where real strength begins. 7. I can't change. 3 words that sound hopeless, heavy, final. When people say, I can't change, they're not describing reality. They're surrendering to fear. In modern culture, we talk about growth everywhere. Motivational quotes, self-help videos, success stories on social media. But when it comes to real change, habits, mindset, relationships, discipline, many people freeze. Because change is painful. It forces you to confront your flaws, your addictions to comfort, your excuses, your old identity. Saying, I can't change feels easier than admitting, I'm afraid to try. But the truth is brutal. Refusal to change is refusal to live. Every living thing evolves. Every mind that grows must transform. Every life that improves must shed an old version of itself. When you refuse to change, you don't stay the same. You fall behind. In a world that moves fast, stagnation is silent destruction. You don't need to change overnight. You need to change honestly, because the moment you stop believing you can change is the moment you lock yourself inside a version of yourself you will eventually hate. And the moment you decide, I can change, is the moment your life truly begins. 8. It's too hard. 3 words that shut down futures, dreams, potential, identity. It's too hard isn't a fact. It's a fear response. In a world addicted to convenience, one-click orders, instant gratification, AI answers, overnight success stories, we've been conditioned to avoid resistance. If it's uncomfortable, we quit. If it's slow, we scroll. If it's difficult, we distract. But growth doesn't live in comfort. Strength doesn't form in ease. Confidence isn't built in safety. Hard is where identity is forged. Hard is where discipline is born. Hard is where weakness dies. Hard is where the old version of you breaks, so a stronger one can exist. Every powerful person you admire walked through something hard: rejection, failure, loneliness, discipline, uncertainty. Hard was not the obstacle, it was the training ground. When you say, it's too hard, what you're really saying is, I'm not ready to grow. But readiness is a decision, not a feeling. Because the doorway to strength has always been labeled hard, and only those brave enough to walk through it discover who they really are. 9. I'll do it later. 3 words that feel safe, comforting, excusable, later. But later is often just fear in disguise. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Endless scrolling, notifications, streaming shows, buzzing messages that pull attention in 100 directions. It's easy to tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll fix it next week. I'll have the conversation later. And the truth is, tomorrow rarely comes as planned. Opportunities fade, mistakes compound, time slips away while fear whispers. Not yet, not now, you're not ready. Delay is a symptom of hesitation, of fear disguised as comfort, of growth postponed, of dreams deferred. Those who succeed understand something crucial. Action is the antidote to fear. Courage begins with the first step. Momentum is built in the present, not the uncertain future. Every later is a chance lost. Every delay strengthens doubt. Every excuse teaches the mind to wait while life keeps moving. The people who break free from procrastination aren't fearless. They act anyway. They start before they feel ready. They confront the discomfort. They step into life while the world is still hesitating. Because the moment you stop saying later, is the moment you reclaim control over your life, your growth, and your destiny. 10. It's not that deep. 4 words that dismiss pain. Dismiss thought. Dismiss feeling. In modern culture, everything is rushed, filtered, and superficial. Conversations are headlines. Relationships are swipes. Emotions are emojis. Reflection is optional. It's not that deep has become the mantra of shallow minds. It brushes off vulnerability. It minimizes struggles. It mocks introspection. It tells you, don't think, don't feel, don't question. But depth is uncomfortable. It forces honesty. It forces accountability. It forces confrontation with fear, failure, and truth. Those who embrace depth understand something most people avoid. Growth begins where comfort ends. Wisdom is born in reflection. Understanding is forged in uncomfortable truths. Every meaningful relationship, every breakthrough, every lesson comes from looking deeper, from asking the hard questions, from feeling fully, not superficially, from confronting what you'd rather ignore. It's not that deep is a shield against growth, responsibility, and self-mastery. The people who live fully don't hide behind it. They dive into their emotions. They question their beliefs. They explore the unseen corners of their mind. Because depth is where life becomes real, raw, and extraordinary. And only those willing to feel it fully can rise above the shallow noise of the world. 11. I'm just being honest. 4 words that feel righteous. Bold, unapologetic. In today's world, honesty is treated like a weapon. Social media has made bluntness viral. Everyone is just being honest, sharing brutal opinions without thought, posting criticisms that sting more than they help. But here is the danger. Truth without discipline becomes cruelty. Honesty is powerful, but undisciplined honesty destroys. It shatters relationships. It wounds friends. It isolates families. It poisons workplaces. People say, I'm just being honest, as if it excuses thoughtlessness, as if intention is irrelevant, as if timing, context, or empathy don't matter. Those who master themselves understand. Words are not just information, they are force. Every statement carries weight. Every truth can heal or harm. Discipline shapes honesty. It asks, will this help or hurt? Is this necessary or just reactive? Am I expressing truth or satisfying ego? In a culture obsessed with speaking your truth at all costs, controlled honesty is revolutionary. It transforms criticism into guidance, feedback into connection, bluntness into clarity. Truth without discipline isolates. Truth with discipline builds trust, respect, and power. And the moment you master this balance, you speak with impact, not to wound, but to awaken, teach, and inspire. 12. That's impossible. 3 words that stop dreams. Ambition, potential, action. In a world obsessed with limits, deadlines, and realistic expectations, it's easy to say, that's impossible. The world reinforces it constantly. You can't succeed without a degree. You can't start a business without connections. You can't change who you are at this age. You can't go against the trend. But here's the truth few admit. Limits often live only in the mind. Fear disguises itself as reality. Doubt whispers, you can't do it. Society reinforces it with caution and convention. The people who achieve extraordinary things don't deny difficulty. They don't pretend it's easy. They acknowledge risk, struggle, and sacrifice, but they refuse to let imagined limits control them. Every invention, every breakthrough, every personal transformation began as something someone said was impossible. Every life rewritten began with a choice. I will try anyway. In modern culture, comfort tells us to stay safe, to follow the path, to accept the rules. Courage tells us to challenge it. The moment you stop believing in impossible, is the moment fear loses its grip, limits dissolve, potential awakens. And that is when you realize impossible was never real. It was just a story your mind was telling you. 13. They don't respect me. 5 words that sting. Frustration, anger, bitterness. In modern culture, respect is treated like a right. We scroll through feeds, comparing ourselves to influencers, celebrities, and coworkers. We see people praised, listened to, followed, and we ask, why don't they respect me? But respect is not given automatically. It is earned. It is built through consistent action, discipline, and character. The world does not hand respect to entitlement, complaints, or status alone. It hands it to integrity, to courage, to those who act rightly even when unseen, to those who stay calm when chaos rises, to those who honor their word and uphold their standards. Complaining about disrespect is easy. Changing yourself to deserve it is hard. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The louder you demand respect, the more it slips through your fingers. The people who command respect in the modern world do it quietly, through action, not argument, through consistency, not ego, through mastery of themselves, not obsession with approval. They don't wait for recognition. They earn it. And when respect comes, it is lasting, unwavering, and undeniable. Because in a culture addicted to performance, popularity, and instant gratification, true respect belongs only to those who embody it. 14. I'm fine. 2 words that feel safe, polite, protective. In modern culture, I'm fine has become a default response, a shield against awkward questions, a mask for social media updates, a pause button for anyone who might notice the cracks. But often, it doesn't mean peace. It means avoidance. It means I refuse to confront myself. When someone says, I'm fine, they may be hiding fear, disappointment, grief, or guilt. They may be avoiding self-reflection, uncomfortable truths, or the responsibility of change. In a world addicted to performance, distraction, and superficial positivity, admitting struggle feels risky. Being vulnerable feels weak. Facing the mind's darker corners feels unbearable. But growth begins with confrontation. Real change comes when you stop saying, I'm fine, when you admit what hurts, when you acknowledge what you fear, when you stop hiding from yourself. The person who dares to look inward, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it scares them, begins the path to freedom. Because hiding behind I'm fine may feel safe, but it keeps the mind trapped, the heart heavy, and the life unfulfilled. Courage begins the moment you stop pretending. 15. I don't need anyone. 5 words that feel strong, proud, self-sufficient. In modern culture, independence is glorified. We celebrate the lone entrepreneur, the solo traveler, the person who does it all themselves. Social media feeds idolize self-reliance, creating a false standard. Needing help is weakness. Asking for support is failure. But independence without wisdom becomes isolation. The moment you insist you need no one, you risk cutting off guidance, perspective, and connection. You risk loneliness disguised as strength. You risk emotional stagnation, because humans are not built to grow in isolation. True strength is knowing when to stand alone and when to lean on others. It is discipline without arrogance. It is courage without pride. It is self-reliance tempered with humility. The people who flourish in modern life understand this. They pursue independence, but they do not reject connection. They build skill, resilience, and character, while embracing mentorship, community, and collaboration. Saying, I don't need anyone, might feel empowering, but the wiser approach is, I choose who I allow to walk beside me, and I grow stronger because of them. Because the balance of independence and connection is what transforms survival into fulfillment. And slowly, something changes. We realize that strength is not loud. It is measured, controlled, precise. A man is not defined by what he says in comfort, but by what he refuses to say in chaos. When words are mastered, the mind becomes steady. And when the mind is steady, life begins to obey. Which of these phrases have you said recently? And which one are you ready to erase from your life?